thanks for stopping by and joining us for another conversation with the SBP Podcast, the voice of mobile film. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and this is episode 10. The Best Film Award goes to Figment by Mithran Maharajan. Global Mobile Film Awards just awarded our guest with this honorable award for his film shot entirely with a smartphone. So we invited Mithran back to our podcast to share more about his experience making movies with a smartphone as a professional director. Let's go back to Canada and talk with Mithran. Hi, Mithran. How are you?
I'm very good, Susie. How are you?
I'm good. Just checking all my microphone, making sure it's on.
Okay.
I want to congratulate you. You just won one of the most epic awards in the mobile film industry from the Global Mobile Film Awards. You won overall the top prize, Best Film. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it was a huge boost for the entire team to do something better and something more exciting.
Well, yeah. How does it feel to get, where do you go from here?
Well, I guess that the whole creation is very iterative, right? Like you do something and then you see an output and you feel like you could have done that a little bit better, and you go back to the writing room again and then pick another story and then do that, and then you look at it and you're like, could have done a better job. So it keeps it's a cycle. It's a good cycle. And it's about keeping on improving. It's a sustained improvement is the key.
Yeah, well, that's true. And so this was your first mobile film, I should say. It definitely, as we spoke, and for our audience, our listeners, after this podcast, if you go back and listen to episode 2, Mithran was the very first filmmaker that we interviewed in this podcast. And Mithran, the funny thing is we have another podcast scheduled this year, which is ending in a couple of weeks, less now than that. And it's not a filmmaker. It's like a year-end with a guest podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun, to present that. But it's funny because the coincidence is, and I'm just realizing this right this minute as I'm speaking to you, you were the very first filmmaker that we interviewed for your film, Figment. But you're also the last filmmaker we're going to interview this year.
That's nice, isn't it? It's a very nice coincidence.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm just now realizing this, going, this can't be. There's no such thing as a coincidence. There's a reason for this, right? So I'm thinking it has to do with maybe you're going to be making another mobile film.
Yes, I'm in the process of it. It's excuse me. I'm in the process of it, and it's just I'm sort of cocooned, if you will.
Cuckoo?
No, cocooned.
Cocoon.
Like
like a worm before it becomes a butterfly?
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah.
Because when I write, most of the times it's more of me doing a lot of research about what I want to write and what topic I want to pick, and make it worthwhile for the audience to view it and create a impact, either small or big, doesn't matter, but at least as long as I can create an impact. So I'm in the process of writing, and yes, definitely it's going to be another film. It's just that there are so many exciting projects that can be done using a mobile phone, in aid with the story, because there are certain films um, that can uh, that can become better if it is actually shot on mobile phones, and these stories and the phone point of view would actually complement each other. So there are so many stories out there that I'm researching on, which I feel like, mobile phone or the point of view that appears to be like a mobile phone would be better, and um, and the technology keeps improving compared to even when we spoke the last time till now. There was just one single phone out in the market that everybody wanted to use, which was the iPhone. But then recently, I was doing more research on Google Pixel 2
Oh, yeah.
XL, and the output and the outcome on that is like really, really good. I was watching a video of a motorcycle rider being shot with this phone with the optical image stabilization and without the optical image stabilization, and it's tremendous. It's just breathtaking, and I'm actually, as we speak, I have that phone to be set up and ready to go tonight. So we'll see.
Nice. Oh, you just unboxed it, right? As the trendy thing is now, unboxing.
Yes. I was sort of like not into the Android world because I felt like some of the aspects that I was looking for was not there yet. I hope this phone is there, and I'm just going to do some low light testing, um, some testing towards how the stabilization of the camera is, and also to test a few lenses that comes with it, not with it, but that are compatible with it,
Oh,
like the moment lenses. So the next few months would be on testing that, and also a lot of writing, yes. And then once it's done, then the team that we formed for the first time is solid, and they are really working on other projects. But once this becomes really it forms a good shape, then it's like coming together as one single entity, and we would be definitely going about it. Yes, and it'll be feature length in a sense, like 90 minutes something.
90 minutes?
Yeah, like a regular feature film. Yes, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it's not like there are people out there who already did it, and it went to um, and being screened in Sundance. I believe it's called Tangerine.
Yeah.
It was a feature film completely shot on iPhone, and I could realize that the necessity of it, because considering the story of that film, everything becomes much more easier when you have like a camera and you're just stripping out all the logistics associated with it and just being inside the universe of the story where it's happening, and also budgetary reasons, yes, but it sort of helps in taking the story to the next level. That's sort of like a iPhone point of view.
Yeah, well, they're not that, we have our the first feature film competition that we had was the one that you were in last. Well, I keep wanting to say last year. By the time, in a couple of weeks, I will be able to finally say last year. But it
Yes.
was the last film festival that we had. And for this year, well, the 2018, next April, what we did was we raised the length from 20 to 60 minutes to 40 and 80 minutes, and so
That's excellent. Actually, talking about film lens, I wanted to share a lesson that I learned with the listeners, yeah, which is if it is a short film, and especially if it is shot on a mobile device, it is better to have it under 10 minutes if it is a short film.
yeah.
If it is a feature film, it goes into a different band of viewership, because you're now setting up a stage saying that, oh, this is going to be a feature film, and the time elongates and the story elongates, and everything is like spread into a spectrum, versus a short film is really concise. And when I started writing Figment, I started off as a short film, and then there were so many elements in the film that required to be said in a specific space and a pace, and that sort of needed it to be 20 plus 23 minutes, I guess, close to. And every time we tried to cut it down and try to view it as a 10-minute film, it sort of lost that essence and the pace in which the story needs to be told. So we had to.
There is another reason why that didn't work out. The spirits were working because, see, we had, for our short films, were 1 to 5 minutes, and then we began at 20 minutes for the feature film competition. It was a mobile feature film. It wasn't the authentic, right? But because we did that, when I first spoke with Javier Augusto Nunez, the producer, he thought his film was only, it hadn't made the 20-minute mark. And as a matter of fact, it did. And I said, oh my God, you made it. It's 21:38 minutes or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And I said, you're in, because I saw the film already.
Yes.
And so I was, I wanted that film to at least be submitted, and I was pretty sure it was going to get accepted because of the quality, but I didn't know at the time. But at least I wanted to have that opportunity in our film festival. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, because I want you to continue that, but I wanted you to know that had it been any length between the 5 minutes and the 20 minutes, it wouldn't have been a part of our film festival.
Wow, that is an amazing information.
Yeah.
And what happened in the editing room is that we were actually trying to cut it down less than 20, and no matter which way we did it less than 20, it just didn't work out, because either the end was a little bit off, or it wasn't feeling complete, or if we cut in the middle, it felt like some of the story is not told yet. So we decided as a team that we're going to leave it as such, and it is what it is, and submit to the film festivals to see what happens.
Right.
And luckily, like you mentioned, it was about 20 minutes, and it's just meant to happen.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. And we are all happy about it. The entire team is happy about it. But I personally felt that so far we have had a very good success in the screening. It's been screened in like more than 10 to 11 international film festivals, approximately, and it's been screened alongside with films that are shot on like regular cameras ranging from DSLRs to red cameras, and this film was screened alongside with that. So we are all happy about it, but we felt, or personally I felt, that it would have had a wider reach if it was under 10 minutes, because most of the at least the mobile film festivals were targeting for that short form video, where you could make the audience
Well, yeah, you have
surprised.
to sit, you have to, so as a film director, right, you have to think about the show that a film festival is.
Yes.
And if you're going to sit an audience through a longer film, then it has to be good. It has to be captivating. They have to really just not feel the time going by, and that means the films have to be excellent for the most part. And there's a flip side to that, because as a film festival, you're not an AMC theater. You know what I'm saying? You're not
Mm.
you're not really, I mean, yes, the film has to be excellent, but at the same time you're trying to give an opportunity and a platform for, the independent filmmaker, someone who is not at that level sometimes yet, but you're trying to inspire them to keep trying and to showcase their films and things like that. So there's that whole dual thing going on. So short films do work better, I think, in a lot of film festivals. I've been in film festivals where the films are, 20 minutes plus, and people walk out. They start leaving.
That's totally right.
And
Yes.
of course they're watching more than one film, of course.
Mm.
So it's sometimes it's not just a film that will, oh God, this is like the fifth film I've seen, and I can't do this. It's hard to do. But there's another aspect of it which comes with the technology. um, you know uh, there's syncing issues with when you're filming longer scenes, where the with the microphone and everything, where you're trying to sync and you lose that on with the mobile phone technology, where then later you're in post production and you've shot a longer scene and you're going, for some reason everything's going out of sync after a few minutes, of recording. And then there's memory, the phone memory, and things like that also play into that with mobile film festivals. But something that you just brought up in playing alongside, the more professional camera shot films, right?
Mhm.
In these film festivals, do you think, um, as a mobile filmmaker, right, as a mobile film, that you would receive the kind of attention that you receive in a mobile film festival from the film festival itself?
Um, I believe so. And the way I treated mobile filmmaking is that it's just another camera that gives director more creative options uh, than um, than anything else. Because if I have to shoot the same story with Red One, I would have shot the same story with Red One. I did it with the mobile phone just because I was so much fascinated about the the capability and the possibility of this device in your pocket that can bring to the table. And I wanted to explore it. I wanted to exploit it, and that was my intention. And before I answer your question, I just wanted to touch upon the certain topics that you mentioned, because I think it might be very useful for the listeners as well. When filming on a mobile phone, there are certain logistics that needs to be taken care of upfront before we go to set. The first thing being sound, because it's like 50% of your film, and if you can actually tell a story just by closing your eyes and still listening to the sound, and you can get the sense of what's going on in
Yeah.
that scene. That's how important sound is. So to me, what we did is, we did not use any iPhone based recorders. We used the professional recorders, or sound mixers that would be used in a regular film, to record the audio. And for the video, we constantly ran into having low memory. So what we did is that instead of shooting one phone, we always shot it with two phones. So it's like having two cameras, so that you're always on the run, and it's not
As long
interrupted.
as, yeah, as long as the
Yeah,
cameras match, because otherwise you
exactly.
get, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we both were iPhones, and both were the same configuration, same model, and we did the same settings for recording the video, including the frames per second, the bits, Mbps, and also the screen size, the aspect ratio. I mean, they are all identical between these two devices, and we always kept, okay, the first one, when it's done, we take it out, and there's always a data management person, like in regular films, like where you change your cartridges, or you change your cards. When you're done with filming, your card is almost full, you go and switch the card and then bring another card. Unfortunately, when you're doing that on a mobile phone, you don't have that luxury, so we actually shot it with two phones,
Yeah.
and kept on copying. Now, those are some of the logistics that we took care of. So when we went to post production, we were able to focus on cutting the story, than working through the logistics. Of course, phone has its own sensor, which is not as um, as sophisticated as a regular camera sensor. So the incoming information might not be enough for doing a color correction, but it gives you this tremendous opportunity to be more creative with what you have in hand, and to tell the story and move it forward. So in that sense, we really took care of the logistics first, because even before we went on floors, even before I wrote the script, I spent close to 7, 8 months researching on what is a mobile phone, and why it could be used for filming, what are the different logistical issues that could come out, and how to address it. So I had that workflow laid down even before we did the production. So that sort of helped me out. But to answer your question as to, do I get the same kind of attention in the regular film festivals versus the mobile film festivals? It depends on the film festival. There are some film festivals who came back and said, "We love your film. It's 20 to 21 minutes, so we cannot put it in the feature. We cannot put it in the short. We just don't have a slot for
The
you."
complete opposite of what happened with
Yes,
us.
yes, exactly. It's a complete opposite, because, and that's when I felt like, oh my God, we should have stick to the 10 minutes and pick up
No,
another
no,
story.
no.
Yes, no, no, not all the
No,
time,
of course.
but um, um,
Well,
but
no, I just mean in this one instance, I mean, we would never have met. Not that we've met in person yet. We got to work on that now, okay? But
yes,
but I mean, it's just, when it's until right now that we're having this discussion. I mean, there's nothing about this that's scripted, obviously, but there's a lot of things coming to mind. It's like, oh my God, this never would have happened had it not been for this. It's almost like this is playing out like a movie in itself. You know what I mean? The
yes.
story of how you became a part of our film festival. It was such a close call, like literally 1 minute and 38 seconds, I think it was. that would
Yes.
have been, well, actually, you know, because
Not
yeah,
qualified.
well,
Yes.
and because anyone, I mean, we're going on our seventh year in the film festival, and even on my very first one, I did not, I'm very strict about the rules because to me, when there's a competition, there is no leeway in the rules because
That's
I'm very strict on that. It's like, well, it's not fair to the potential filmmaker who's been, let's say you saw, right, or someone else saw that we had this competition that said 20 to 60 minutes, which is what the length was last year, 20 to 60 minutes for a feature length film. Well, then they come back and I've changed the rules, right?
mm,
Again, and they're like, I just spent 3 hours last night trying to shorten this so it would fit within that, or making it longer so it would fit this, for nothing, because now you've changed the rule on me. And it could be 1 minute difference, could be a lot of work for a film where you're trying to make that decision of what do I cut or what do I add.
that's true.
And so
That's
that's
true.
something I consider. And to me, it's like once it's set, it's set. So as much as I loved your film, I had my fingers crossed going, oh my God, I hope that this film, because what sometimes on Film Freeway, people would put down the length of their film, but it
Yes,
doesn't have a counter until you watch the film, right? Where
that's
it's
true.
telling you exactly what is on there. So sometimes filmmakers, make a typo or they think it was this long and then it was. God knows, I'm just picturing filmmakers being up at 3 in the morning trying to submit the films, and um, and so sometimes that doesn't match. So before I even contact somebody, I'll play it through. If for our listeners, I'm not going to play all of them, but I will play through if I can and see, what the time limit is. And then I played it through and I said, oh no, this actually fits right in. But yeah, what a coincidence, that, like I say, there really isn't a coincidence. Um, and yeah, all film festivals, supposedly they should all, not bend the rules depending on the films and the filmmakers, or hey, it's my friend, he really wants to be a part of it, or she's my buddy from high school, she really wants to be a part of this, or I really love that film, I don't care about this one. It should all just be an even playing field, not to go off into that, but so I'm glad they didn't accept it.
No, yes and no, and but one thing that we felt happy about is that these film festivals, they came to us and said that your film looked great, and we didn't know until the end credits roll that you actually shot on a phone. And that really set the right tone that we were expecting to have. And we did got selected on the 11 film festivals that we got selected to. I think four of them were mobile film festivals, and the rest of the seven were actually non-mobile film festivals. And here in Toronto, we got selected and screened in the Toronto Short Films
Yeah.
Festival, and it was a big deal for us as a team, because we had this little device and a story and hard work, and that's it. And we were there with these other films that were shot in like Red and C300 and the wonderful experience is like when it was full house and I was sitting with the audience, and as the film started progressing, I sort of
Glanced around and looked at people.
yeah, no, I actually stood up and sort of walked to the side of the theater, and yeah, I picked a viewpoint where I could see the complete audience.
Yeah.
So I was like slightly close to the screen, but I was able to see um, like everybody's expression and everybody's reaction as the light from the screen falls on their faces, and it was so beautiful, and they were clapping, they were standing and clapping, and it felt complete. And at that point in time, the fact that it was shot on a phone or it was shot on anything else just disappears. It's just a story, and it's about people.
Yeah, well, that's actually, it's an emotional moment because that is what that's the dream of the filmmaker. That's why you're sitting there, you're working hard. I mean, filmmaking is not easy, whether it's on a phone or whatever. It's not an easy process. It's a coordination between people also, and you make this thing happen, and then you see it on the big screen and you watch people watching your work, and that is really a special moment. That's what it's in the end, that's what the magic is about, right?
That's very true. And as for mobile filmmaking, I still feel that it has a huge potential in the documentary film world. Um, and I saw a couple of documentaries actually shot on mobile phones that were shot in South America, and they look amazing, both from the story perspective and also from the visuals perspective. It has this unique feel in the content that that makes me feel that there's no excuse anymore to say that, oh, I have a story, I want to make a film, or I have to make a film. There's no excuse about it. It is actually in your pocket. You just have to connect with a bunch of people who believe in the story, and it has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah, that's one of the things that attracted me to video itself, and this whole concept of democratizing uh you know filmmaking in a way is through regular video production as well, because that's kind of what I did the most of myself for many years. But I was looking in through a lot of my files and downsizing the computer files on my computer. And I ran into this ad that I made in 2009, and I shared it with one of the groups that I had on LinkedIn, and it was promoting not just the film festival, but community stories, which is a program that I'm endeared to, which is about basically you share your story as a part of that community, which you're sharing the story about, and that community can be a culture as well, you know. And so someone in a community or a culture or something like that is not depending on someone from the outside coming in, right? And sharing that story. And every year in the film festival I try to promote and feature one of those stories, one of the films as a community story. One of them last year came from an immigrant from, I think it was in Turkey, who was a journalist, and he made a story called, now I can't even think about the name of it, but it was featured. It was, I think it was called, Breakfast of Champions, and it was
Oh,
showing the immigrants. The immigration was such a big topic over the last couple years, right?
yes.
And it was showing Breakfast of Champions, and I thought it was an interesting title. But it was really this guy, he was in that community himself. Even though he was a journalist, he was sort of forced to leave his country. Now he was an immigrant as well, and he decided to share their story. They were there every morning, very early in the morning. This was in France, I believe. And they were there every morning trying to get their papers so that they could have a place to go. They were sort of like nomads, right, at that time, and through that process, and the hope of that. And it was a struggle, and it was like that one moment type of the story was really about that one moment, that one morning, and what happened to them. And I featured them, and I consider a lot of these people like friends now, for the film festival. I'm sure if he's listening to this podcast, he'll know I'm talking about him. Plus, I just gave the title of his film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a big deal for that, because he was there and he happened to have his phone, and he was able to film that. And so that's really important. I do believe you on the documentary side. It's a big deal to be able to use this. You never know. You could walk, I mean, B-roll, right?
Yes.
B-roll in a documentary, it's not something you put together. It's things that are happening. So if you know that you're creating a documentary about, say immigration, but you happen to go to the store and happen to see some immigrants being rounded up, or a homeless person that happens to be an immigrant going through something that, I mean, those are moments that you have to capture, and the phone happens to be with you because it always is, so it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. It becomes a window to that experience, that or the event that is happening there, and the world gets to see it in its raw form. It's not through. It's not dramatized. It's not fictionalized. It's in its raw form, and that creates a different kind of impact on the viewers.
Would you ever consider making a documentary yourself?
Yes, I will definitely make a documentary. I have actually many ideas jotted down for documentary, as well as for a web series that is completely on a mobile phone. And a couple of them are actually, one of them is a comedy. The other one is more like a travelogue kind of thing. But yes, we have. I say we because I'm collecting a team to go about it. So it's just a matter of prioritization to see which one we want to do first, whether it's going to be a film, or is it going to be a documentary, or is it going to be the web series? We need to see.
Or maybe a combination, um, of all of those.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Yes, if the story asks for it, yes.
Um, when you were making, let's talk about your film a little bit, in Figment. When we were ending our podcast last time, it's so interesting, when I talk to you and other filmmakers, that sometimes it eludes me to talk about some of the things, and then I say later, I wish I could have talked about that a little more. And I think we had a touch of that at the end of the last podcast interview with you, where we were talking about the children, the little girls in the film,
Yes.
and what that was like. Had you filmed children before that?
Yes. Yes. I even for the other short films that I did,
Yeah.
I think a couple of them had child artist as a lead. In fact, one of my films that I did very first during my earlier days is that of a little boy who learns a trick to escape bullies from his grandparents. And the entire film is about a conversation of a little boy, um, probably like 6, 7 years old, who's having a conversation with his grandfather, sitting in a bench in a school. And I did another sci-fi film, which was also, um, it has a heavy influence of looking at science fiction from a kid's point of view. And because I grew up watching films like E.T. and other films where um, the story gets more traction when it's viewed through an eyeball of innocence, like how it is happening even right now for Stranger Things, like because all of a sudden everything looks different when you look at it from a kid's point of view, and so I'm always fascinated about looking at events from a kid's point of view. So yes, I am used to incorporating characters of that age group into the film, only if necessary, to see how would this story unfold if they were about to watch it, or they were about to live through this. So yes, I do have experience priors, yes, working with kids,
One
and
of
I
the
love. Sorry, go ahead.
one of the reasons why I was asking, I mean, you just opened up my mind to something else though, but the original reason why I had for asking was because since you have worked with kids before, I was just curious to see if you had noticed any difference in the comfort level of a child in front of a traditional big camera, as opposed to a child in front of a phone, which they use. I mean, parents and themselves selfies and things like that. They're always in front of that. I wondered if there was a level of comfort that you saw between the two in
It's
children.
it's it's a very interesting question. Actually, I never looked at it from that point because they did not know until I called action. They did not know with what we are filming,
Right.
because I was always talking to them about what they're gonna do in that scene, who they are, how are they gonna feel, what is this universe? I mean, the universe in the story perspective, where they live in, where do they come from, where are they gonna go, what are they saying, why are they saying it, how are they saying it? All those things were the only thing that I discussed with them. And both the kids were really amazing. They just did what is required for the story. But until I set action, and then they see the camera, they they did not understand what we were doing. They did not know whether it's a rehearsal or this is the actual film,
That's true.
and what's going on, and things like that. But they were very grounded, and they were very serious actually, with their roles, and I was amazed because um, I originally thought, even during the rehearsals, because I had a very lengthy conversation with the parents about what the film is about, and how we're going to shoot it, and what are the different things that we want to shoot. And so when they came to the set, and when they came to the rehearsal, they were so serious. They were like, okay, what is it we're going to do? Where are we standing? What are we doing?
They want
And
direction.
yeah, and they did not care about like whether it's camera or not. And if I tell them to look through the lens, and thinking about our lost in thought, they just looked through the lens, and they did not really focus on whether it's what is behind that lens. Is that a film camera or a mobile camera? They did not worry about it,
Hmm.
and that was really amazing because those kids really emulated certain scenes that are exactly the way it has to be done. And if you see the film, the first half actually rolls out from a point of view of a kid, and then it switches to an adult's viewpoint, and they nailed it.
Yeah, one thing about children, which is really, really cool actually, when you're on set, is that, for adults, you say, action and then you yell cut, right?
Mm.
And the adult, if something goes wrong or if it starts to feel like, well, I guess we're out of the scene now because something happened, and they just assume you don't have to say cut, right? Where a child, everybody could just leave the scene and they're still acting until you say the word cut, right?
Yep, yep, definitely, and it's so adorable and inspiring at the same time,
Yeah.
and actually that reminds me of an incident, and I think like probably this would also help the listeners, is that when I'm taking more takes with a kid, or yeah, especially with kids, I used to say that, okay, let's do it one more time. And I think at some point in time, I was taking more takes than I planned, because I was expecting, excuse me, I was expecting a certain thing, and I couldn't get it. Uh, and and not from the performance standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, because of various other logistics that we had. And one of the assistants from my team, she said that, Mithran, you shouldn't tell them, let's do it one more time. You should just tell them, let's do it again.
Ah,
Because if you tell them, let's do it one more time, they're going to think that that's the last time all the time. And I was like, wow, I never thought about it. It made perfect sense. And I from that point onwards, I kept telling them, let's do it again. And I explained it to them why we are doing it again. Um, but uh, there's another there's another challenge, our schedule challenge, especially when we are working with kids,
oh yeah.
because as the day progresses, the longevity of the day can be handled differently by different age group, and for kids, it's like, it makes no sense to do the same thing over and over and over and again. And probably by the 10th take, they would be like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
It's
And mommy, can we
torture.
go home? Yeah, mommy, can we go home?
Yeah.
So, but these kids were not like that. They were so dedicated. If I said, can we do this again, and they did it, and
Well, and it
they
was
knew.
cold. I mean, Ava was telling us, for our viewers,
Yes,
that's episode 5.
yes,
She was telling us that it was freezing, and that they were out there in the woods doing those scenes, the beginning, right,
yes.
of the movie, and it was super, super cold, and they were wearing, like their little dresses and stuff, and they had to work through that.
Yes, it was minus 18.
Oh God.
Believe, yeah, I know.
I get. I mean, it's like 50 degrees and I'm freezing. Okay.
It's Canada, so
Whoa.
uh, well, and we shot it in winter time too, so that's why it sort of added that grayish tone that we were looking for the story. So that
Yeah.
was good. But it was close to negative 18 degrees Celsius, or negative degree 20 degrees Celsius. So the kids, they have to wear the princess dress, and they have to have this doll dress, and it's really difficult, even for us. So what we
And their
used to do is
parents,
that,
right?
and the parents too, like everybody was dedicated, and what was really moving to see is that everybody believed in the story, and they're doing this just for the story. There's no other reason for two kids to stand out negative 18, doing the shots over and over again. And it was so painful for me in the editing room to actually cut out some of those shots.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
I
Yeah.
I have to and to support the overall picture, but
Right.
um, they did it with more professionalism, and sometimes it's more like a family, because what we do is like we have this one of the executive producers brought to the set this heaters with
Oh,
uh, um, and
like
and it's
propane
very,
heaters or something?
yes, propane heaters, yes, you're right. And it's very interesting in the sense like, so there's a film crew which is filming, and then there'll be like this 3 to 4 people standing with a propane heater ready, and it's on, but they cannot on it so close to the microphone, otherwise it's gonna pick up the sound, so they will just keep it ready, and as soon as I say cut, they will switch it on, and the entire crew of like 15 to 16 people will go towards that, and we will all be like, okay, now let's warm ourselves in, and then we were like, okay, next shot, next shot. So it was really
It's
good. It
cold.
was,
It's
yeah,
cold.
it,
It's cold. And for the crew, what I would like for you to point out, anything else that you'd like to point out, instead of me asking you any more questions, because I just wanted to make sure that we talked about the kids because we left that hanging.
sure,
Um,
yes.
but I really want to congratulate you again for winning the Best Film Award. I mean, you're a winner. I remember the last podcast we were laughing because when you started out in film, you won one award after another. And we were laughing about that, all the awards you won when you were starting out. And so I can just imagine all the awards that are yet coming your way, whether you're filming with a phone or with a red camera, or it doesn't matter. I don't think you're a great storyteller.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say, but I personally think that just to complete the circle of what we started beginning, you were asking like what I was doing. Like I told you that, I cocoon myself in like a shell and sit and write, but once I come out and if the story has to fly like a butterfly, it's not me flying,
Right.
but that wings are actually the team, right?
Yep.
Like without the team, there is no flight, and it is so true. I'm saying flight is because there is so much coordination required when there is a flight. The synchronization between everything to work perfectly to make a flight, even for a butterfly,
But you're
is
the
exactly.
conductor, though. You're the director. You're the one directing the path.
Yes, but I prefer, maybe it's just me, I prefer that I'm more of a catalyst to a bigger reaction that's going to happen. Of course, it's a controlled reaction. I still like to control it uh, because not because of anything else. It's just that the end vision must align with everything that's happening in between. So that's why.
Right.
But
But they're
I
making
still,
it happen. I understand what you mean.
yes.
It's like by yourself. I mean, it's a vision, in you, and it takes the team to realize the vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's an idea, there is a realization, and there is an execution, and then there is a delivery, and into the real world, into the hands, or in this case, to the eyes of the viewers, and that cannot be done with just one person. So in that way, I'm really thankful for the people who are around me, because they are so much patient with me when I switch schedules, when I get more takes, and because they understand, they have seen the output, and they have seen the previous films, and they believe that, okay, this is going to be good. In fact, Ava, who won the best lead, told me several times like this is for one of her favorite roles that she did. And when I see things like that, it's a very good duet in the sense like the writer writes expecting certain thing out of a character, and then the actor brings that character out into life, and it reflects on each other. So it's a very, very good experience.
Well, I don't know, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where it's like there's no coincidence anymore, really. I mean, things are meant to happen.
Yeah,
And I think some people in this world are meant to work with you. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're willing to work with you, is that it shows in the work that you do. It goes from that vision into, the end result. When they see your prior films and they say, wow, everybody realizes that there's a crew and there's a team and the work that's involved around it. But to have a director like you were mentioning Steven Spielberg. I mean, who wouldn't give their right arm, right? Not literally, to work on a film with Steven Spielberg, playing any small role, and I don't mean acting, although that's also the case, but I mean even as part of the crew, you know.
absolutely. Yes, yes.
And so, yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I'm not trying to bloat you up, but I'm just saying
Not
what,
to me, it's actually
yeah,
intimidating because
yeah.
it's like, oh my God, the next work I have to do, I have to be really
Well,
careful
but
to.
other people believe in you, and there's a reason for that. And you also kind of have to believe in the same way that they believe, that and it's hard, because if you're very comfortable as a director, then if you don't have a little bit of fear, right,
Yes,
then maybe your films wouldn't come out so well. I think, it's almost like putting a little fire under you that makes it in the end, right?
that's
uh,
true.
so it's like a little dance, it's like darned if you do, darned if you don't, that kind of a thing.
Yes.
um, but I have confidence in you. Your team has confidence in you. And I'm sure, like I'm saying, like I just said 5 minutes ago or 3 minutes ago or whatever it was, that whether you're directing a film shot on a phone or with a camera or whatever comes out, right? Whatever you choose, going to have, it's going to be a quality film, because of the story and your vision, and you'll lead people through that, whatever
Oh,
it
thank you
takes.
so much. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Anything else you'd like to say?
Um, Other than this, I don't know. I just want to say one thing to the viewers or listeners. It is philosophical. No way I put it. Don't worry about rejections because you will have it, and instead of getting demotivated by rejections, just sort of like do a scientific approach as to why you are getting rejected, and um, try to understand the facts behind it and make an informed decision rather than an emotional decision that really puts you in the right path of inclination upwards than sort of closing down the doors and not doing anything.
It's hard when you're an artist.
I
It really
understand
is,
the
huh?
pain. That's why I said
Yeah,
like
the pain.
yeah, it's very important to put emotions aside, and I have like a scientific approach towards it as to
Yeah.
why did this get rejected? What is it I could have done better?
You have to
And
see it almost as an opportunity. That there's
definitely,
an opportunity to learn something from it, so that and things, a lot of times rejections, like your film being in our film festival, right? Like you didn't
yes,
make it, that you were rejected in one because of the time, but had that not worked, you wouldn't have made it into this one. And not to
Exactly.
say that our film festival is better, but I'm just saying it. I don't know. I'm giving you a lot of attention because I think in the mobile filmmaking world, you're one in a million. You
Oh,
know,
thank you. Thank you.
and in the traditional world, yes, you are too. Of course, you're always going to be one in a million, but you're competing against so much more out there than in the mobile film world when it comes to a feature length film shop, with a phone.
That's true, and I'm so looking forward to shoot a feature film now with mobile phone. See,
Yeah. So
so
rejection, to our listeners is it's like a blessing in disguise in a lot of ways. It really does push you to do things or see things in a different way if you're willing to. And if you're a real filmmaker, right? You
that's
love
true.
the challenge.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to our podcast. Thank you to Mithran. And we're gonna travel like a little butterfly onto Patreon, and you
Sure.
can catch this next podcast there. For listeners, that's at www.patreon.com/SBP podcast. So hopefully we'll see you there. Say goodbye, Mithran.
All right, viewers, thank you so much for listening in, and we hope to see you, or in this case, reach out to you through many more podcasts to come. Please stay tuned.
Awarded for Best Film by the Global Mobile Film Awards 2017 with his smartphone film, Figment, Mithran Maharajan shares his advice on the responsibilities of a director in our exclusive bonus podcast for patrons in our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/SBP podcast. We're almost nearing the end of 2017, and we hope you are looking forward to 2018 with hope and optimism as a filmmaker sharing great stories. I hope that you subscribe to our podcast and are learning a lot from our guests in our discussions.